but like very important stuff, which is emergency evacuation procedures. And let's pass. So the most important 4 points is to check the location of fire alarms and know how they work. The second thing is learn your building evacuation plan. The third thing is to know where your two nearest exits are located, learn how doors swing and where stairs lead. And then make sure you know what to do if the fire alarm sounds. Plan your escape. The emergency evacuation plan. So as you can see there, we have some green arrows for the evacuation plan. Just follow them to go outside of the building. The assembly points. We have 6 assembly points, and we're going to explain them from this satellite plan. We are based here at the conference center. 2 assembly points are here next to the flags in the entry of the Petite Pagoda. The two other assembly points that are based here next to the restaurant. The 2 others that are next to the dorms. So reach out to the assembly points once we have an emergency. These safety instructions, they are displayed on all the screens of UM6P. If you need more info, more insights about this, reach out to me or Ashraf. Ashraf is going to show up, so he's the mastermind behind all of this. Please, a big round of applause for Ashraf. When you notice a fire, please pull the nearest fire alarm, the red cubicle there. And if there's no pull station, reach out to me. This is my number right there, please. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Write my number here. Just take a picture. Just be quick. And another number here, Ashraf's number. Reach out to us, please. When you notice a fire, do not assume that anyone called the department or the fire department. Stay calm and be prepared to explain in a very explicit way to the emergencies what happened, and then evacuate. When you hear the fire, close the doors behind you. However, do not lock the door. Locking door hinders the fire department's search and rescue efforts. The stairway will be your primary escape, and never use the elevators under such circumstances. Once in the stairway, proceed down to the first floor and out of the building. Never go up. This is very important if you're trapped in smoke or heat. We have 4 steps, clear steps to follow. Before you open the door, feel the door with the back of your hand. And if it's warm, do not touch it at all. Stuff the crack around the door with towels, rags, clothing, or tape. Stay low to the floor. If it's possible, cover your mouth or nose with a damp cloth. And then, if there is a phone in the room where you're trapped, call the fire department as we said, or the emergency contact that you have in the delegates booklet that we sent. It is also on the speaker's packet that we sent. So if you are trapped in the smoke or heat, wait at a window and signal for help. Do not panic or jump, wait. If it's possible, open the window at the top or bottom, but do not break. If you may need to close the window if smoke rushes in. Be patient. Rescuing all the occupants of the building can take several hours. After a fire emergency, once you are out of the building, stay out. Do not go back inside for any reason. Report to the warden or us, the emergencies contact, me and Ashraf. Tell the fire departments via warden if you know of anyone trapped inside the building, and do not re-enter to the building until it is safe. And this information must come from us as emergencies person point or from the fire department. This is a very important point. For the health issues, please try to reach out to this number or for one of our teams. Take note, please, for delegates. And it was communicated in the delegates booklet also. For smoking, please keep calm. Do not smoke inside. It's forbidden. If you want to go smoke outside, and there's the ACES places for it. For the people who came with their cars, please try to stay in the speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour, to use the safety belt, and to respect the pedestrian walkway, because it's very important. It's a campus. Then for the parking safety rules, the parking slots are here in yellow. As you can see, this is where we are, here at the conference center. So we have one here, and the other one is on the other, next to the official gate here. If you want to park, the best way to park is the reverse parking. And please, the construction sites, stay away from them. We don't want to get some people harmed here. We want to get you or deliver the best experience for you guys. And for this, we are at your disposal anytime. Reach out to us, and I wish you the best experience, and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Basir. That was necessary, and as he said, it is now time to fasten your seatbelts because we are about to begin. So, are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? Yes. You came from a long distance for this. There are only a few people who are here out of the thousands and thousands who wanted to be here. So give me that energy. Are you ready? Yes! Yeah. All right. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There are 3 ways that you can approach this summit, this experience that you're here for. 2 of them are not going to work for you. And 1 is going to get you the best experience out of the summit. All right? So the first way that you could approach the summit is to be a party animal. You're here to just have fun. You traveled to spend time with people, to chill, to stay up at night. And that will not work for you. Second is to be here to boost your CV, to add something that you did. That will also not work for you. Because this summit is packed. It is intense. The only people who will survive it and get the most out of it are the people who are committed and ready to bring their all into every single experience and session. And that brings us to the 3rd way, and the successful way, is to be a learner. You are here surrounded by hundreds of people who all have their own stories, their own experiences, their own challenges that they've gone through, that they've fought through. They have a wealth of knowledge. The delegates themselves are all knowledgeable, and they can help you, they can support you. That is the purpose of this community. We have incredible speakers who are experts in their field, who have donated their time to come here because they believe in each one of you. So the best way to get the most out of this summit is to be a learner, to look at each opportunity by asking the question, how can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? Even if you feel that certain things, you're asking yourself, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to the project that I want to work on? There is something that every single experience can teach you. So keep that question in mind. What is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? All right? So a little bit about how we actually put this together. All right? This is the 2nd summit, the 2nd annual summit. So last year, we had the World Merit Council Summit. The Council Summit was incredible. I know some of you were there. Some of you were knowledgeable of it, and some of the friends that you have in your communities have also attended. The people who were at the summit or know somebody who was at the summit last year, give us a shout. All right, that's good to see. We have a lot of new faces. So just to let you know, this summit is nothing like last year's. All right? We actually went back through last year's summit. We listened to all the feedback. We analyzed everything that worked, that didn't work, and we looked at what was the end result that we wanted out of each participant. Where did we want you to reach after this experience? And we designed it from the ground up. This applies to how we look at our community as well. We looked at our community at large and started listening instead of looking at the structures. And we started looking at what does the community need? What will support you most? And here's what we noticed. And you guys will know this. Each one of you is completely different. Each one of you has different needs. Each one of you has a different level of support that you want, different resources that you need, and a different kind of help and support. So we went about creating something that would be tailored and personalized and would be able to serve the needs of each one of you while we're all here together. That's why, as you were entering and getting checked in, you had to do a quiz where you had to select a group. So now, did all of you select a group? Tell me yes. Yes. Tell me again. Yes. Great. So there are 4 groups, and I'm going to explain them to you. The way that we design these groups not only represent the needs and the way that we want to support each group and what end result they're going to have. So not all of you are going to have the same end result, and this is important, so that everybody's definition of success out of this summit is different. That's the first thing. Second is that it represents the journey of your growth. So in whatever category or group that you're in, you will grow, you will change throughout the summit. That is the one thing that I can definitely promise. You will transform, you will grow, and therefore, you might end up wanting to change your group, and that is okay. You might find that by the end of the summit, you identify with a different group, and that's great. So I'll start with the first level and go up until one of the kind of different levels of change and experience, all right? The first that we start with are inspired experimenters. So who are the inspired experimenters? Raise your hand, by a show of hands. Incredible. Give them a round of applause. These are people whose approach to social action, this is their first experience. They are taking a courageous and brave step forward. They are jumping, they are leaping into social action. They might not know how to start or where to start, but they are here and they are ready to learn and to get inspired and to see role models in front of them that they can look up to and say, oh, I could be like that. That is a possibility for me. The second group are cause explorers. Cause explorers, raise your hand. Cause explorers are people who have attended events, they've participated in other social action projects, they've been an active member of the community. However, this is the first time that they are going to start their own project. Give them a round of applause. So that means that they're taking that first step forward. It means that they are looking to start a project that they can manage fully. So that means the end results, they might not be looking at 2 5-year end results, but they're looking at a project that they can start from idea to execution until they finish it, and then start the next one, and the next one, and the next one. The next group we have are project builders. Project builders, raise your hands. Project builders are people who have created projects before. They've created shorter-term projects, they've created events, they've created social media campaigns, they've been active. But this is the first time that they're going to commit to a long-term project. Something that they're going to want to get everybody's help around. Something they're going to need support with. Something that they're going to need partners and sponsors for. And they're going to learn how to get that. The fourth and final group are the community organizers. Community organizers, raise your hand. Look around you. These are your supporters. Community organizers are here to support other change makers. They want to create the structures, the networks, the communities that are going to support people in achieving their potential. So their project is going to be centered around how to best serve you. Now, give all of you guys a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. So one of the key intentions that we brought into this summit, all of our teams are doing meditations every morning. They've set intentions for how they want to serve you. They've set ways that they want to bring joy, that they want to share their love. They are here for you. And that is one of the core pillars of this summit. Connection, joy, love. We want to make sure that you connect with as many people as possible, and not in a surface way, not just asking each other's names and then forgetting about each other, but actually getting to know a little bit more and going deeper, getting to know each other's stories, getting to know what makes you tick, and therefore making connections that will last way beyond the summit, that you can reach out to for support whenever you need it. So that is one of the first pillars of this conference. We have ways that I'm going to tell you about in a little bit, about how we're going to encourage that and support you in doing that. The second is joy. This is meant to be fun. You are here because you're all crazy people who believe that serving people and committing all your time, staying up all night, creating projects is the most fun that you can ever have. So we're going to amplify that a notch, okay? Let's make sure that every experience that you have throughout this summit will not only bring you joy, but will show you ways that you can bring joy into your life, how you're creating projects and serving people so that it doesn't have to be coming from a place of stress and being busy and running around all the time. But it can be a joyful experience where, yes, you are doing a lot, but it fills your soul while you're doing it. So make sure that you spread smiles freely, that you laugh, that you spread hugs, that you support each other. And that brings us to the third pillar, which is love. The whole reason why we're here, why we're doing this, is because of our love. Every single one of you has a gigantic heart. You are here because you love the people around you. Not only in your community, not only in your society, not only in your country, not only in your region, but all of humanity. And you have the power and capability to extend love that far. You are here because you want to share your love not only for people, but for our earth, for our resources, for everything that we have at our disposal that you feel grateful for and want to preserve, want to make sure that everybody on this earth is having the best possible experience because we're just here for a short amount of time. So keeping these three pillars in mind, remind each other of them. When you see people who are having a hard time, who need support, our volunteers and our team are here for you, but also support each other. Make sure that you're checking in with each other. Make sure that you are here for each other, and you're doing this with each other. So that is why we gave you these when you entered. Little mysterious dots. What are they? These are gratitude stickers. Now, I know you only have a few, and you will be sharing your gratitude way more than what these stickers can provide. But the purpose of them, the symbol of them, is that when somebody goes above and beyond to help you, to support you, to give you advice on your project, to just be there for you in a way that they didn't have to, but they still did, you can give them a sticker and stick it on the back of their badge. And that way, you can express your gratitude in a very visible way, right? Now, the second thing is, how are we going to stimulate connection between you guys? So the way that we design things is that for most of the summit, you will be pushed outside of your comfort zone. We will not let you stay in your bubble. So get ready. Between each session, when we leave for lunch and come back, when we leave for a coffee break and come back, when we all exit this hall, you will have to change your seats. You will need to sit with a stranger. When you are at meals, the tables that you sit at, you need to change the tables and sit with strangers. Now, I know this can be a little challenging. We all get a little nervous. And that's why, whenever you meet a stranger, this is the first thing that you're going to ask them. And you can use us as an excuse. We're the one who told you have to ask it. So it's, what's your name? And what inspires you? All right? If you are feeling a little nervous, our volunteers and our team are ready to support you. You can go to them. They will ask you for your name, and they will take you to a group, and they will introduce you. All right? So feel free to reach out. It's okay to be nervous about this. It's okay to feel that you need a little bit of support. So always ask for help. Of course, you can do the same with each other. You can ask another delegate to introduce you. But just make sure that if you feel a little nervous, just ask for help and we are there for you. Now, the other way that we're going to encourage connection and support is our dinners. Our dinners are going to be a little different. Our dinners are going to push you to open up. They're going to push you to share a little bit of your soul with people. Each dinner in the next 4 days is going to be themed. We're going to have a theme that each person in a table is going to have to give a toast around. Now the toast is going to be just for your group. It's not going to be for everybody. You're going to have to stand up or stay seated if it's too complicated with eating. And you will have to tell a story that represents that theme. Now the theme, although it's specific, the theme is broad. So you can choose your level of comfort of how deep you want to go. So you share a story that is from your life that fits within that theme. And then in the end, you toast to something. And then you choose the next person who's going to give the toast. All right? Now the second thing with dinners and all of our meals is I want you to make sure that all of you are getting food. We're all busy. We're all running around, connecting with each other. So please notice if you haven't eaten, if other people have not, and encourage them to come and sit down, get some food, get some snacks. Because this summit is going to be very intensive, and we want to make sure that you are getting the most energy because you're going to be using it up. So make sure that you are getting your meals, make sure that you are getting enough sleep. I know it's tempting to stay up, but please get enough sleep just so that you are able to fully engage. You will need your notebooks in every single session. You will need to make sure that you are attending every single session. We have sent you all the code of conduct and behavioral rules. We have also informed you that if we find people are breaking these rules, we have the right to ask them to kindly leave because they will be disturbing your experience. And for us, that is absolutely sacred, and we will protect it, even if it means somebody getting upset at us, all right? So please, are you ready? Give me the loudest yes you can possibly give. Yes! Amazing. Now, the people who are behind this, who are making all of this seamlessly work, who are making this happen, making sure that every single one of you got this opportunity to be here, are people who believe in you. They believe in your power to create change. They believe in your ability to transform your communities. They believe in your potential. They believe in your intellect. They believe in your creativity. And they believe in your connections. They have invested endless hours for months making this happen. They have invested time, energy, and a lot of money to make this happen. So please give a round of applause to OCP, UM6P, and Africa Advisors. We wanted them to each come to you today and speak to you about why they have made that investment, why they believe in you, what is their vision. That vision for us is guiding. We want to understand what is our larger context in the world. So we truly know what our potential is. And that's why they're going to be coming up here and speaking to you about that. And that is your opportunity to show them your gratitude for being here. So we will start with Mehdi from OCP.
Hello everybody, thank you Jihad for introducing me. First of all, I'm very glad to be here and very glad to be part of this celebration and energy. A lot of guys that I don't know had just met me and just say hello. The energy is very positive, and today we are here to try to explain our framework, how OCP as a group is trying to help youth and try to help it in a sustainable way. So just to give you the big picture, maybe I will start with introducing OCP and myself first. So I'm part of the sustainability platform, OCP, and OCP is a Moroccan company first. It is the global phosphate leader over the world. So being the first producer and exporter of phosphate and phosphate-based fertilizer over the 5 continents. I'm trying to give you this background so you can reach out with me how we did the math and how we tried to think just to design our framework for sustainability. So to continue on OCP, we are 21% market share on the global phosphate exports in all its form. We are about $5 billion revenues. We have 21,000 employees, and we had invested over. We have an investment plan over the coming 20 years of $21 billion. So we are investing $21 billion in a country that is GDP is around $100 billion. OCP to reach out these goals has 6 assets. So we have 2 transformation platforms, which are chemical platforms, and we have 4 mines. And with these 6 assets, we are providing the world with phosphate and phosphate-derivated products such as fertilizers. Our vision is to feed the planet. Our vision is to provide the lands and the earth with the fertilizers needed so we can grow plants and we can feed the planet. And this is our biggest challenge. So to reach this, since 2008, OCP has initiated an ambitious industrial strategy with a deep transformation and a big investment program to double its mining capacity and to triple its industrial phosphate transformation capacity. This strategy has been set with one pillar in mind, in one direction in mind, which is sustainability. We want to grow, but we want to grow in a sustainable way. So just before going through, let's start with the basic facts to remind you. Our country demography. We are about 35 million citizens in Morocco, and out of this 25 million are young people. So you can do the math, something like 70% of the population is young. So we, as a group, strongly convinced that betting on youth, energy, and youth capabilities is not an option. It's a mandatory path that we need to go through to achieve an overwhelming development for everybody. So conscious of this fact, we had developed our framework based on 2 very connected objectives in mind. First one is how will we develop in respect of SDGs, and how will we grow as a business, as an industry, while the world is facing one of the biggest challenges of mankind, which is climate change. Second one is how can we positively expand our impact on communities, on population around us, and how can we best develop and share real sustainable value with all communities that are located. So to respond to the first challenge, which is linked to environment, we did some benchmarking, and after a big benchmarking, we had set OCP has chosen circular economy as an ecological framework. So to explain circular economy in a few words, circular economy is an environmental framework based on 3 simple principles. First of all, preserve the resources. You need to use as few as you can of the resources. Second, produce in the most sustainable way. So your industry needs to be eco-friendly. And last but not least, turning all the waste generated by your activities into a new resource for you or for another actor. Circular economy is one of the most strongest and, let's say, widespread framework today in the world. And applying circular economy framework to OCP activity is today bringing us a holistic approach so we can, based on 4 pillars, tackle all our supply chain. So the first pillar is phosphate resource preservation. Morocco is holding 75% of the phosphate resource of the world. It's something like 700 years phosphate consumption. But still, we are conscious that we are holding a very rare resource of the world, and we are needing to protect it. So our first pillar is to preserve the phosphate resource. The second one is to produce in a sustainable way. Third is going beyond our industrial activity and promoting smart consumption. So if you need to go to fertilizers, you don't have to put a lot of fertilizer, you have to put few. And we are used biotechnologies and R&D for making the resource sustainable and smart. Last but not least is closing the loop and trying to recycle all our wastes to make a new resource that we can use either in our industry or for other industries. From an objective point of view, this program aims to strengthen our partnership with our different ecosystems, meaning first preserving the environment for upcoming generations, then sharing value with the local community by creating jobs. Creating value means I see a lot of faces, I see a lot of nationalities, I see a lot of countries that I'm pleased to talk to you today. But sharing value in Europe is not the same thing than sharing value in Africa, for example. In Africa, we need jobs. We need people to work. So we are trying to make this framework, the circular economy framework, provide new job opportunities. Then sharing value with the local community, as I said, by creating jobs around circular economy projects, and at last enhancing symbiosis with our industrial partners toward SDG accomplishment. OCP's circular economy framework reflects the very, very high ambition of the group. And I will try to depict you maybe through 3 simple examples how high we had to put the standards and how high we want to be best in class regarding sustainability. So let's start maybe first with the essence of life, which is water. So OCP is using more or less something like 100 million cubic meter per year to go through its industrial activity. It is peanut, like if you are comparing to the national consumption, it's something like 0.5%. But still, we are in Morocco, one of the 20th most stressed countries in terms of water in the world. So we decided to let this water, and it will be better used for agriculture or any other communities usage. So we set ourselves a midterm target that will have no water consumption. We will be leading transforming 12 or 11 million ton per year fertilizer producing without using any water that can be used by any other population. And for this, we have 2 major leverage. We want to use seawater. So seawater is considered like maybe an infinite resource. We have seawater all over the place. And we're going to desalinate the seawater and use it for our industry. A second source of supply will be wastewater. The wastewater of our cities, the cities that are around us, will be collected and transformed into usable water for our industry. A strong program of water stewardship is currently conducted for first water efficiency. As an example, 80% of used water in mines is recycled. And we are moving very shortly to 95%. As per today, 30% of OCP water needs are self-supplied. So we are not using water that can be used by population. And maybe in 8 years, in midterm or very midterm, we will be completely sufficient in terms of water. A second point is energy. So for energy, our objective as well is to be 100% sufficient and clean energy. We will have clean energy means that you have no carbon footprint on energy. So you are producing energy without harming the planet. So for energy, our objective is 100% sufficiency on clean energy by midterm. And it is very ambitious because just to give you a scale, it will be representing 15% of the national whole Moroccan consumption of energy. So as per today, we have already reached 70%. Our need of electricity is covered by clean energy, which clean energy is a mix of cogenerated energy, so energy that we are collecting while producing. So we are recovering the heat and then doing cogeneration technologies to transform the heat into electricity. And the second source is renewable energy, so wind, solar, and so on. So as a result of all these efforts today, 3 out of our 4 mines are fully supplied with wind energy. So no energy coming from any carbon generation source. For the industrial transformation part, Geophosphor platform, which is the biggest phosphate transformation platform in the world, producing 11 million tons per year, is today 100% covered by cogeneration, as I explained. A third point, just to show you how we are trying to close the loop, and I will be bringing you an example of our initiatives of carbon farming. So while using our mines, once the mine is used, we have a lot of lands that is available. What you have decided in OCP is to reclaim these lands. Okay? To reclaim these lands means that you are putting it in the same state that it was before. But we want to go further, and we want to transform those lands into forests. So basically, the group has engaged many projects for mining reclamation and forestation. OCP planted more than 4.5 million trees around its mine. And today, we are investing with some partners on carbon farming projects, R&D carbon farming projects. These projects will allow to evaluate the vegetable species that give the maximum of biomass so that it can absorb the maximum of CO2. This was a short overview of how circular economy framework is implemented into OCP sustainability platform, and basically how we are trying to tackle climate change, which is one of the biggest challenges we are trying to tackle. We, as a group, has set very high environmental standards, as I said, and the fact is that for the last 7 years, we have grown our production by something like 80%, and our footprint, our environmental footprint, had only grown by 15%. So we are completely decorating our growth, our growth, like in a business point of view, to our impact on the environment. And this is the biggest challenge we are trying to handle and to tackle. So to go bigger, to provide more fertilizers to the world, to feed the planet without harming the planet on the other side. So today we are trying to achieve this, and we are almost very convinced that we will succeed. The second stream is regarding communities and how we are sharing our value with communities that is framed today in OCP around an initiative called Act for Community. So Act for Community is the group's initiative that consolidates its strategic orientation towards societies, communities surrounding, on its different operational sites. So Act for Community OCP is spread into Morocco, and we act around our sites to spread up onto the whole country. This dynamic is motivated by the group ingrained desire to foster creation of shared value in an agile, innovative, and decentralized way. So we are trying to bring a maximum autonomy onto sites, onto people, volunteering, and we're trying to just give the backbone of this structure and to let people think and create themselves what will be the best ideas and startups and projects that will bring real and sustainable values onto the communities around. So the reach of Act for Community projects is very wide. It spans from supporting public health to designing and developing the cities of tomorrow. So basically today you are this very place is called Ben Guérir, and you are in a new city that is a product of what we have designed, like a new city, a sustainable city, which is one of the first one that we have designed, but we are also designing other cities elsewhere. So, as we are in the UM6P University, let me just focus on one topic regarding our commitment to communities, which is how OCP is intending to improve access to education and encouraging excellence. So let's start with this university itself. In few words, Mohammed VI Polytechnic University is a world-class academic and research institution in Africa, open to the world and focused on Africa. UM6P is dedicated to research and higher education based on technology transfer, incubation, innovative projects, and proximity to the corporate world. So we are very linked, like UM6P is very linked to OCP. We are providing them with the expertise that we have, and they are providing us with the R&D capabilities that they have. Then a second pillar is scholarships. In order to support the academic sector and ensure equal opportunities, last year, about 1,800 students received scholarships for 2018-2018 years. And we are doing this like on a yearly basis. Of these 1,606 were enrolled in French Grande École. So for those that are not very familiar with what is Grande École, so in engineering path, you are started with preparatory classes, and then you can go into a kind of context, and the best can reach the Grande École. Improving learning conditions in local schools is also an important area of focus for ECP. This commitment has translated into investment in school transport to ensure that girls have access to education and improvement in school infrastructure. We also have the skill centers. Skill centers have been established at 4 OCP sites. And each one, skill centers means that you are taking people with maybe low education, and you are providing them with just the needed education to go through entrepreneurial and to go into business. So skill centers that we have are having between 600 and 1,000 participants each year for each skill center. Another point is the digital schools. So we have the 2 schools of digital, 1337 and UCode, are Morocco, and they are Moroccan flagship on IT training schools. They are completely free and accessible to everybody. No diploma is needed, or computer knowledge is required. So you can go to the context yourself and say, okay, I can try myself, and you will be helped to enter these schools. Its pedagogy is based on peer learning, a participative approach that allows students to express their creativity by learning through working on projects. To train tomorrow's coders, rethinking the learning process and transforming IT into a fun and exciting discipline was necessary. So 2 campuses were opened, welcoming 300 young people every year in Kharibga and 110 years in Yusufia. So those are 2 sites. In 2018, OCP will expand these schools to 3 other sites. So we will have like 5 IT coding schools with this kind of framework. So to make it more obvious for you, maybe I will just go into numbers. So last year, I'm talking about 2018 numbers, 4,690 days of volunteering as part of the community service program that is facilitated skills transfer, thanks to 2,000 employees of OCP. Last year as well, 2,000 young people trained, 816 young people integrated into the job market, thanks to these initiatives. Last year, 250 associations benefit from the capability building and financial support program at Quribga Yusufiyya in Hamra site. And last year, 127 local companies created and supported by training and financial support at the program. So these are some numbers to highlight how we are monitoring our impact. So we want to have real impact, real value, and to follow through so it will be a success. We are not doing philanthropic stuff. We are not doing philanthropic kind of initiatives. We are not giving money. We are structured. We want to have real projects that will provide people with a sustainable way to gain their life and to share the values. To close my speech, on behalf of OCP, let me tell you that that you guys are the hope, and we are committed as a group to make that energy that bring you to this very place and shine more. And we try to provide you with all the means to make you to give you success. So thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi Saidi. Those were a lot of incredible projects. That's a lot of projects. And we're incredibly inspired by how OCP looks beyond its borders, beyond the entity, to create change and to really serve in a measurable way. Now, the next person is somebody who has a true California spirit. So, to express her spirit, I want you guys to do a wave. Have you ever done a wave? Have you ever seen a wave? It's usually done in stadiums, all right? We're going to start from this side and go all the way to that side, all right? So 1, 2, 3, stand on this side. We go. Incredible. Amazing. So this California girl she is the chargée de mission from the cabinet of OCP. She is a person who is a true leader in the way that she serves those around her. She is always looking to inspire people, to empower them, and to give them platforms through which they can create and make change. She is somebody who has worked in the nonprofit sector for years. She's a member of our World Merit community and a very dear friend. She has supported us in making all of this happen, and she is the person who is here representing UM6B. Please give it up to Munya Fdail.
Wow, what a presentation. Yeah, I feel like I have to live up this intro. First, I want some light on the room. I want to see everyone. So can we have the light on, please? All right, much better. Okay. Just a second, please.
Yeah. She's the blonde one with the short hair. شفتها كده.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Monia. It is my honor to stand before you on this very special day on behalf of Mohammed VI Polytechnic University's top management, faculty, and staff to extend our warmest welcome to each and every one of you. It is such a pleasure for us to host the second edition of World Merit Council Summit at UM6B in Ben Guérir, Morocco. And I am personally very thrilled to see so many of you back this year and so many new international and national speakers, influencers, actors, friends, all join, representing more than 40 countries from across the globe. Round of applause for yourself. Nurturing today's talent, impacting tomorrow's Africa. That is our motto at Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, and I'm happy to have the privilege to share with you today our vision and mission for our new generations, and that means you. So, as a matter of fact, our main objective at UM6B is to offer a new generation of environmentally conscious and competent leaders the right tools and resources to address Africa's current and future challenges. Through experimentation and the pursuit of excellence, we aim to develop new skills and knowledge, foster and support a global community of innovative researchers and entrepreneurs committed to the development of the continent, and promote values of social responsibility and sustainable development at the international level. This said, I would like to stress the university's efforts to build and develop forward-looking programs to cultivate lifelong collaborations and partnerships in order to provide youth with access to useful connections and all the means necessary for them to succeed their ambition to make the world a better place. In this regard, I encourage you to make the most out of your experience of your participation to World Merit Council Summit 2019. And I hope you have a great experience with us here in Ben Guérir, Morocco at UM6B. I won't be too long, so I wish you all the best of luck and a lot of success. And now I will leave you to discover in video more about Mohammed VI Polytechnic University. Thank you for your attention and welcome again.
In 2017, a new research and innovation university was inaugurated here in Morocco. Designed from the outset to be an ecosystem for innovation, research, and entrepreneurship, the first of its kind to be built in Africa. A next-generation university with 5 founding principles: promoting research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, developing skills and knowledge, bringing forth a new generation of competent leaders, developing sustainable partnerships, sharing the values of social responsibility and sustainable development, attracting many of the best minds from Africa and across the world to its main campus here in Ben Guérir, 50 kilometers from Marrakesh. Mohammed VI Polytechnic University has a forward-looking approach to research and education, fully focused on innovation, experimentation, and the pursuit of excellence, with an ethos of learning by doing. PhD students and professors work together as part of a unique entrepreneurial culture, developing pertinent research projects critical to helping Africa realize its potential, with experimentation at the heart of education, starting research in small laboratories before scaling up to full-size experimentation in our living labs. Such as the experimental farms to test new methods in agriculture and fertilization. Making ideas grow and incubate in the innovation and entrepreneurship platform with a network of mentors, coaches, and numerous scale-up opportunities. Tackling the challenges of education in Africa is a core principle of the university. By being close to policymakers while being anchored in academic analysis and knowledge, the university focuses on bringing concrete answers to the population's needs. the Digital Learning Lab develops digital modes of education, including massive open online courses, widening the reach of education and knowledge. The university aims to bring forth a new generation of environmentally conscious, competent leaders, offering scholarships to the best students from remote areas, being socially inclusive, giving a chance to everybody to succeed. The university is connected to a global network of academic and research institutions, while also developing partnerships with public institutions and industry, collaborating in R&D, continuous education, and knowledge transfer. Revitalizing agriculture in Africa is a challenge not only for the people of Africa, but for the people of an ever-growing world. By bringing humanities and technology sciences to the continent, and by educating the next generation of competent leaders, Mohammed VI Polytechnic University brings a solid contribution to Africa's sustainable development. Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, nurturing today's talent, impacting tomorrow's Africa.
You need to talk to Reds.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. And thank you, OCP, thank you, M6P Group. And now we're going to pass to our next person. He's one of the godfathers of We're Married Morocco. And he supported us during our journey from the beginning. He was here for We're Married during its ups and downs. And he is one of the main partner for Morocco, the partner of Africa Advisors. Mr. Talal Belghiti, please on stage.
Hello, everyone. I want to start by thanking the organizer of this conference for inviting me to speak today. It's truly an honor to be here, an honor to be among so many talented, bright minds who are committed to change the world. You're going to have about 3-4 days in this summit. And during this time, you're going to be privy to some of the tools that will help you become better social actors and help you in your endeavors back in your communities. One of the things that I was asked today is to tell you why I am here, why I've chosen to support and be part of World Merit. And it simply boils down to the fact that World Merit and its founders in Morocco have inspired me. They've been truly inspirational. Mohamed Lahmami, Jihad Musa, and Abdelhamid Bassi have truly shown the way to many here in Morocco and to others as well around the world. So I've also been part of this journey because this journey corresponds to the way I view the world. And one of the things that I'd like to do as well is to share with you my worldview. Perhaps some of you are going to see in it some inspiration of how you can, inspiration that you can take back and you can use it as a reference to carry out your own work. Much of what the way I've lived my life is basically goes down to three basic principles or three pillars. I've built everything that I do and that I continue to do, and I think that world merit fits in that criteria on three principles. And these are how to live your life. You live your life according to these three principles. One is you live historically. You live your life as you are part of history. And second, you live your life philosophically. You have a philosophy of life. You interrogate yourself regularly. You have a worldview. And thirdly, you be spiritual. You have a spiritual path. I think we're all are spiritual, and it takes us recognizing that spirituality to be a conscious and a spiritual person. Now, what do I mean by live life historically? Living life historically means that you are aware of the challenges of your time. You're aware of the opportunities, of the obstacles, of the power structures existing in your time. If you're not aware of these things, it's very hard to make change. It's very hard to work. You don't want to be just an object of history. You want to be an agent of history. You want to move history forward. History is full of individuals and groups of people who have labored, sometimes in the shadow, sometimes we know about them because they made the big headlines or made history, but it goes back to these individuals. How did they see history? How did they live their times? How did they take opportunities around them and turn them into a success? Sometimes they succeeded, sometimes they failed. I can think of so many cases of successes. One such case that comes to mind, if you're familiar with your U.S. history, is a simple citizen like Rosa Parks, who by refusing to give up her seat, basically stood up for against injustice in the United States and ignited a civil rights movement that changed that country's history. We have other instances of success. We have a gentleman by the name of William Wilberforce in the United Kingdom in the 19th century who dedicated his life to fighting slavery. And by the end of his life, he actually succeeded in doing so. He was part of the great abolitionist movement. And he was able to make change. He was able to bring about change because he was an active member of history. He was aware of the historical forces taking place. He was able to use the power structures to make real changes. There are other instances of failures, for example. We have a gentleman and the reformists. If we look at the reformists leading up to the end of the Tsarist Russia, reformists who wanted to bring about liberal changes, but they failed. And as a result, you had the Russian Revolution that lasted, bringing about sort of the communist state that lasted for another 80 years. And so looking back and studying these individuals, studying history, you can see what works, what doesn't work. How did people position themselves so that they took advantage of the events of their times, of the powers of their times, to make about social change? You are all social makers, change makers, and you're all operating in different environments. I see that you're coming from 4 corners of the world, and as a result, you're going to be facing some challenges at the very local level, and you have to be aware of them. But you have to be also aware of your place in history, because you can make history if you are acting as a historical person. The second point that I want to bring about is live your life philosophically. Have a philosophy of life. Now, what does that mean? People think of philosophy as some sky, and sort of your mind is always in the sky thinking about random things. But philosophy is truly just about love of wisdom. It's about loving truth. It's about asking the right questions. And I think that studying philosophy should be a fundamental part of everyone's career, everyone's life. Whatever you are doing, you're going to be faced with philosophical questions on a daily basis. You're going to be faced with, as you leave here, as you're driving home, as you are going on a flight, there are some ethical questions that are going to come up, and you need to answer them using the right kind of tools, the right kind of methodology. You having access to wisdom, having access to philosophy. There are also the big questions that philosophers have asked for a very long time. The nature of consciousness is one of them. What is the nature of consciousness? What does it mean to be human? And these questions are going to be asked as you are on your social media, probably completely disconnected from everyone around you. Probably not you guys, but most of the world today is on social media, and probably we're losing that human connection, that consciousness. And so it's going to require for us to go back and ask the fundamental questions, what it means to be human. What is consciousness? What is justice? So if you studied philosophy, you understand that one of the fundamental questions of philosophy is, or philosophers throughout history, is what is justice? What is the meaning of justice? Some of you are working on eradicating poverty. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean you give justice to the poor? You fight inequality? If you're fighting inequality, does that mean you take from some to give to others? Is the Robin Hood approach the right approach? These are fundamental questions that you have to ask. You have to ask yourself. One of my favorite philosophers is Plato. He's everybody's favorite philosopher because really everything in philosophy, and particularly Western philosophy, is a reference, is built on Plato's writings. Plato is still, today, you still read Plato or interrogate Plato. It's obviously based on Socrates' dialogue. So Plato was an interpreter of Socrates. And if you read Socrates, he was just a crazy man walking around in Athens, led him to be killed. But he always asked the right questions. He never flinched. And his idea was to uncover and to show people's, or particularly at the time, the sophists' way of leading their lives, spending their entire life being clever and not seeking the truth. And we have a lot of that today. A lot of people are more concerned with being right, but they're not concerned with the fundamental truth, with the fundamental wisdom. So much so that if you read Plato very well, one of the big questions of Plato is how to lead a good state. What's a good state? And is it a democracy? For Plato, for example, democracy, this is something counterintuitive for all of us. Democracy is not the best form of government. In fact, it's right there below, right there on top of tyranny. There's tyranny, and right above it, there's democracy. So these are questions that we should interrogate, and we should think about. The third, but in no way the least important way I've tried to live my life, is to be spiritual. And spiritual, I don't mean you have to be this religion or that religion. Spiritual, I mean you have to spend your life in service of others, humbling yourself, always seeking humility, seeking to be at the service of others. And once you seek humility, you can become so small that you can do great things. One of the greatest spiritual people that we all know of is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a Catholic nun, yes, but that's not what made her a saint. What made her a saint was that she spent her entire life in service of others. So try to be spiritual. We all are spiritual already, but try to build on your spirituality. Try to nourish it. And you nourish it through acts of kindness, through acts of service to others. So I've tried to share with you how I view the world, how I see the world. It has impacted a lot my journey through life. In fact, the name of our company, of our advisory firm, is Afrique Advisors, and it took us a long time to come up with that name, but it rings. There is a historicity to it. There is an identity to it. There is a well-thought-out process to it, and that we are African, and that Africa is truly not only the next important player in the world, but is already the most important player in the world. So I leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Talal is one of our dear mentors. We always pay attention to what he says because he definitely helps us contextualize everything. All the things that he talked about right now are concerned with the challenging and difficult work that is required of us as social activists. Because you need to be very, very clear about your larger purpose, your larger compass, so that even though you face challenges, you stay resilient and you don't get lost and you don't fall into an existential crisis. So thank you, Talal. And he is actually a lifesaver. He always saves us whenever we call him and there's a crisis or emergency. He's always there for us. So give him another round of applause. So the next person I'm so excited and honored to introduce is somebody who's a true Pan-African activist. She started her journey initially as a blogger covering the Tunisian Revolution. And then she started covering more and more of the Arab revolutions that were happening. She was covering them on Al Jazeera, on Open Democracy. She was so true and honest in everything that she said, to the point that she got blacklisted and banned from Egypt in 2014. She has started a lot of movements and a lot of projects to serve African youth. Some of them like Afrosist and also YFM. She started the Africa Youth Movement from 500 members of a Facebook group, and it grew to one of the largest youth movements in Africa, with 10,000 grassroots activists who are also reporting, advocating, and shaping the narratives around their communities. She has received extensive awards, and she is the youngest diplomat of the African Union. She is the youngest counselor at the World Refugee Council, and she is the youngest commissioner at Oxfam Independent Commission on Sexual Misconduct. She is somebody who, when I met, and she talked about and advocated for young people's emotional intelligence, she immediately won my heart. I would love to introduce you to Ms. Aya Shibbi, the African Union Youth Envoy.
Word Merit, what's up? Viva young people, viva! Viva! I thought this room is full of crazy badass people. Viva young people, viva! Viva! Viva social change, viva! Viva! Here we go. I'm really honored to be here. Aslama, bonjour, good morning, and in so many other languages. And I want to first thank Word Merit for inviting me. I want to thank Jihad and her team and the founders, you're amazing. I want to thank OCP Group for this model, this green city that I think makes us proud as Africans to have Africa-led initiatives, not only in Africa, but for the whole world. So I really want to thank OCP Group and the vision of the chairman who believe in crazy people like you and me and take risks to empower youth. Thank you so much. They deserve a round of applause. I want to also recognize a member of the African Union Advisory Council who came with me, Nair Abakar from Chad, and for African participants from Central Africa. He's your voice, so make sure to take his WhatsApp and harass him. Young people, I think this is the best place to be on a Monday morning, isn't it? Yes. A room full of young people who have the guts to do something, because we live in a world that is full of tokenism with very little action. And so I'm happy to be in a room full of doers and shakers. I think this place, or the Word Merit Summit, is a place that gathers young, brilliant minds who are here for their own journeys, for their own missions, but who are here also ready to define what is social change and how do we arrive to social change together. But I think also we live in a world that is screwed up. We wake up every morning on the some nonsense tweets of some presidents, you know what I'm talking about. And these tweets sometimes decide policies and turn into policies, decide our lives and our future. But we also live in a time where we have 70.8 million people who have been forcibly displaced. Some 262 million children and youth out of school. Some crazy numbers. Some 192 million unemployed. 200 million girls went through female genital mutilation. 650 million were forced to marriage before 18, and a long list of suffering. But if I would choose which generation I would be born with or in, I would be a proudly millennial. Because we're the youngest generation in human history, the most educated, the most connected, the coolest generation. Yes, we are. And we are a generation in transition, I believe, because we are transitioning the world into a whole next level of innovation, of technology, of leadership, of activism. So really, no excuse why we can make a difference. How many are millennials here? How many are Generation Z? All right. I think being part of my generation of millennials made me proud more because we can make change happen. And we should stop watching or blaming the system or what's going wrong. Instead, we should be changing it. And that change has to be bottom-up and youth-led and transnational. And that's why this is a global platform. Hands up, Africa? Hands up, Africa. Yes. Hands up, Asia? Hands up, Europe? North America? Australia? Anyone coming from another planet? No? Yes? Crazy people. So my contribution this morning to the theme of the summit, Mobilizing Youth for Social Change, would be around 3 reflections around my own journey, and I hope it will contribute to your learning and your experience here at the summit. So the first would be youth power, disruption, and activism. Where you come from, your background, and what you endure in your life, I believe, cannot stop you from finding your power to disrupt and to thrive. Every one of us has a story, and I just came from Juba, South Sudan, and I was completely fascinated and inspired by the resilience of young people there who, despite the hardships of the post-conflict settings, they are still building peace in their country. And when I reflect on my own journey, I can only believe that everyone can and should be an activist. Because activism is about turning your struggle into positive contribution so others will not endure it. The same justice and the same inequality over and over again. And I am product of the Tunisian public education. I did my primary school, secondary school, and college in Tunisia. And I am an only child to a religiously conservative family. Both my mother and my father's sides are very conservative. So I rebelled since an early age, and I made radical choices in the perception of others about how I want to live, what I want to be, study, believe, and with the help of a supportive father, because I think he's a feminist, but he would never recognize that. In my extended family, I've been the only woman who chose to live by herself when I went to university in the capital, Tunis, the first female to travel outside of Tunisia and to work and study outside by herself. And I was forced to study engineering because that's also the path for the family. And that's where jobs are supposed to be. But I terribly failed, and I had a gap here at university, and I switched to humanities and international relations. And then I was pressured to do masters, you know, the same path. Undergrad, masters, get married, have kids, all of that. And so I said, no, how do I do masters when I don't know what I want to study? I don't know, I want to just travel the world and learn from people. And so I went back to university when I was ready. I was born in a village in the Tunisian Algerian borders where certain traditions and rituals were practiced on girls. And I was subjected to one called tasfih. Maybe some Moroccan Algerians know about it. And very young, I experienced patriarchal abuse, psychological violence, discrimination, and has since carried out my childhood traumas, but I turned them into resistance, fight, positive energy, and a search for liberation. Activism started for me by standing up for my rights and my voice, and owning my voice, then healing and liberating myself from pressures of society by unlearning the pain and learning how to make a positive impact. And that has become a political voice with Tunisia's revolution. I was motivated to fight for what was directly affecting me, for freedom, for gender equality, for inclusivity, and that is when the personal has become political for me. And so my existence as a female became political, as a Tunisian, Maghrebian, Mediterranean, African has become political. Everything since became political. And I had no manual, and I couldn't lend my hand on how to become an activist in 10 days book. Not everyone agreed with me or with my views, which are challenging the status quo. And many thought that it was pointless to fight. How do you change structures that have been there for decades, centuries sometimes? And I'm sure you can understand and relate to what I'm referring to. But I think it was often hard for my society to think of an alternative. Even my mom, who thinks that my ultimate achievement should be to get married, and she lost that hope when I turned 30, because she thinks the train passed. So now I don't have hope anymore. But at least she's not nagging on me anymore, so that's good. Activism for me is learning by doing. When I started blogging, I learned how to own my narrative. I learned how to make the news to become the news. And my power was and is my voice, as it is for everyone. The future lies in young people, power. That's very obvious because we are prepared to transition to a new era. And we must invest in that transition. Not for us maybe, but for the next generation. The second reflection is movement building and solidarity. Following Tunisia's revolution of dignity, which you know as the Arab Spring, right? Arab Spring, Jasmine Revolution. These are all Western narratives. We call it Thawrati Karama, the revolution of dignity. And so after following the revolution, I traveled to 30 African countries supporting other change makers and activists. Yonamal in Senegal, Balan Citoyen in Burkina Faso, Fismat Fall in South Africa. Yay! Not Too Young to Run in Nigeria. You know, all these movements around the continent that just rose up the last decade. And I was training them in supporting, training, and blogging mobilization and violence. And I continued to blog to rebrand Africa's story, but also realized our common struggles, realized how divided we are along our borders and colonial legacy. The answer for me was Pan-Africanism, which is not just an African concept. I think it is a global concept and people from other continents can learn from it. Pan-Africanism, or Ubuntu, means the unity of African youth to rise collectively and massively beyond our shades, our tribes, our languages, our political affiliation, beyond polarization. Just put our continent first. I was very fascinated by the political solidarity in the liberation movement in the 60s, in the face of colonial powers, which showed us how Pan-Africanism can liberate us. And they managed to organize across borders. They didn't have WhatsApp and Facebook and all the technology we have, so I was really fascinated. In 1960 alone, 10 African countries got independence, which is not the colonizer just woke up one day and said, I'm gonna liberate all these countries. It's because these leaders who were young at the time, in the late 20s, have organized across borders. That is for me the ultimate concept of solidarity. So I started a platform called Africa Youth Movement as a Facebook group in 2012 to bring all these young organizers I've been meeting across the continent to think about how we can accelerate change, how we can turn our shared marginalization into a collective identity and critical consciousness, how to think beyond our national struggles to find solutions to our problems, and to unite because we are the majority. We're 65% of this continent, and they're 30. We're massive, so if we decide to unite, we can definitely win. In 2015, we officially launched with these 500 members. As Jihad said, we became one of the largest movements in Africa with more than 10,000 from 42 countries, tons of campaigns and advocacy, different hubs in different countries. But one of the things I want to share about the movement is that in the word of NGOs, the movement remains until now, which I stepped down last year when I was appointed the envoy, remains non-registered and with no central bank account, no office, no headquarters, with a small team of volunteers, but managed to mobilize and impact the lives of thousands of young Africans, especially grassroots offline youth who most often do not get a chance to be here or to travel. And managed also to organize forums, to organize platforms like this, gatherings with zero external funding, just with members, mobilization and community fundraising. And this is to say that when you have purpose-driven, committed youth who work for alternative solutions, everything is possible. Even funding can never be an obstacle, because the only obstacle to reach where we want to be is us. It's in our mind and our mindset. And so, for the last decade, this has been my mission, creating alternative spaces of belonging for African youth that are non-violent, non-misogynist, empowering, and inclusive, that can shape our collective identity by sharing our political and economic struggles and turn them into creativity, turn our anger and frustration into something positive. And mobilizing and organizing is hard work. Activism is exhausting, and it's really working your ass off. It cannot happen overnight. So if you are change makers and you are willing to take on this path, you need to be consistent to see the results. It's a long-term investment. I think for our generation, it's either we organize and start really doing the work right now, or we are out of history. There is an African proverb that I like that says, where you will sit when you're old shows where you stood in your youth. So you decide 30 years from now, 40 years from now, what you wish you have been doing right now. We must also remember that whatever we are fighting for, it's intersectional, meaning that we can't have gender equality without education or peace without climate justice. Our goals are inlined and interlined, and social justice can only be reached through our solidarity. We ourselves can be part of the problem if we ignore or invalidate the issues that certain groups face every day. And we must not just look at a list of issues and decide the ones that are worth our time. We need to bring people always together in partnerships and collaboration. And I really hope that this time here at World Merit Summit would be to show to others how can collaboration could look like, where connections beyond borders were created. You have a wide range of tools to use it and make that happen. I also think that 21st century movement and leadership is not about one-man show. It's really about decentralized, leaderless leadership. It is about everyone being or becoming a political actor in the movement. Everyone is a political voice for social justice, for a peaceful world, and everyone can be the change maker. But the struggles of the next decade will require transnational solidarity. We cannot do it alone. And I think the African Union, as other institutions, are here to support that dream of a borderless continent that we want. The third and last reflection is intergenerational co-leadership. The present day is not limited to the solution of our grandfathers and grandmothers and parents that have put into place. Today is about innovation and creation. Today is about co-leading, co-designing, and reforming the systems together in order to build the Africa we want or the world we want. And this solidarity also needs to be intergenerational. Not only elder youth, but in the language of World Merit, the ones who are going through the reactive phase and the ones who have reached the activist phase. And since I have been appointed the African Union Youth Envoy, I have decided to promote a concept of intergenerational co-leadership. We cannot just expect the leaders to hand the torch to us. We cannot be handed something that we did not co-design, we did not build together. And I think that's why we need to occupy our space. And I have been a Pan-African activist for the last decade asking for participation, asking to be on the table, and being loud and noisy about it, being very radical about it. But since few months, my new role means that I now have a seat at the table with decision makers, and it's a heavy seat. It's not only for my voice, but it's to amplify at least over 300 million youth on this continent. But I realized that as young people, we shouldn't just ask for participation or a seat at the table, because we don't want to be ticking boxes. We should be asking for co-leadership, leading the issues that affect us and not just participating on fighting for space. And we can only do that by collaborating with other generations, because achieving the United Nations 2030 agenda, the African Union 2063 agenda, wouldn't be possible without generational collaboration and partnership. So I think it is for our generation to bridge this generation gap. You know that the average age of African leadership is 66 years old, and the average age of the population of this continent is 25 years old. So we have 40 years of generation gap, and our population will be doubling in a couple of years. So by the end of the century, half of the world will be African. If we do not work, all of us, on generational collaboration, it will be a crisis in a couple of years. And I think we know that other generations failed us. So we shouldn't also fail the next generation. We should be the ones who will bridge generations and bring the solution. And to end, word merits, badass, crazy activists. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you should be whatever the hell you want to be. Honestly. Be you. Be the crazy you. And live your dream. Be your most innovative, youthful self. Be the best version of yourself every single day. And be coherent with yourself. Coherence between what you believe, you say, and you do is what makes you a true leader. Because we see a lot of incoherence in our leaders. We don't want to be that. And get involved. Get involved in civil society, in your local council, in municipality, in your school, in university reform. Hold your government accountable, organize your community. Be reminded that you come from a generation that changed the course of history. So you should be proud of being part of this generation, and you should continue to make that change happen. And in the word of a Moroccan feminist writer, Fatima Mamisi, she says, dignity is to have a dream, a strong one, which gives you a vision, a word where you have a place, where whatever it is, you have to contribute and make a difference. And lastly, I think it's important to empty your cup regularly and refill it with positive energy. Nurture your vision in the stillness of your mind, defeat the negative thoughts, and surround your people yourself with supportive people and a supportive system. And enhance your youth power. It all seems magical and easy, but investing in your personal growth, it's your responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility. So, get out there, kick ass, and shake things up. Thank you.
Thank you, Aya. She is incredibly inspiring. She's definitely a role model for who we have the potential to be. So please give her another round of applause for the courageous work that she does. Now I want to introduce to you the person who is behind all of this, the reason why we are able to be here today. I want to introduce Chris Arnold. He is the founder of World Merit. Thank you. Go ahead. Give a round of applause. He turned a traumatic experience in his life into social action. He turned his pain into something that can change the world. And he wanted to be here personally to give you a welcome, a warm welcome, and to encourage you in the path that you're on. Chris, you're on.
Hello? Right, usually I've got a number of stock speeches that I like to give. One of them is about the fact that I'm really quite old now, and you know, I've got grey hair and, oh my God, that's me on the screen. Oh, no. And the part of that speech turns into this rant that says, you have to make the most of every day because very soon, in fact, in about a week, you'll all be 46 like me. But I'm not going to do that speech today, so I move that one on. Make the most of every day is the point of it, though, so that's done. The second speech that I tend to give is, it's a personal story about how my life went and how a woman, a teacher called Mary Wilson, inspired me to make the most of every day. There's a bit of a connecting theme. And I go through all that plan that she wrote for me, and then I suggest that you should create a plan and stick to it and live with it too. But I'm not going to do that speech either. I'm not going to do that one either because, well, frankly, too many people in here have heard it before and are bored with it. So I won't do that one. The speech that I'm going to do is, it's a very quick story. In 2006, I won a scholarship to the Kellogg School of Management in Chicago. It was just a month-long program for executives. I was young then, I think, maybe 32, something like that. And there was only 6 of us, and I was the only one who was there for free, which was good. The other delegates on the program, or students on the program, they had all paid $50,000 for the month-long program. And they were the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, there was a managing director of Bosch, and a couple of other luminaries of billion-dollar companies, and it was me. And at the time, I had a business that was turning over about £2 million, which I was very pleased with, but it was not in the same league. And my name is Chris Arnold, and Arnold, an A, is at the start of the alphabet, and I was devastated when on the first day of the program they told me that we're going to take 6 days to get to know each other, and each day somebody is going to describe themselves and their business and what their ambitions are and what they would like to do with their life. And Chris, you're first, because we're doing alphabetical order. And I was very upset by that because these guys were in a different league, or so I thought. I spent a day talking through my opinions on business, my opinions on the world, and I was getting more confident as the day went on because they weren't necessarily saying too many negative things. Until one of them asked me a question that went like this: what do you think of networking? What do you think of that? It's a pretty benign question. And I said, well, really, I'm not a huge fan of networking. I don't see the value. My business is in a small niche that sends young people to work in summer camps in America. And so why would I need to get to know anyone outside of that industry? Why would I? And it was the worst thing I could have said. They absolutely spent 2 hours beating me up, saying you're stupid, you're dumb, all true. But specifically in the context of networking and building a team, their question was, okay, so you're happy in your business and it's doing okay, but what happens when you get bored with your business and you want to do something else? And you'll have no network and you'll have to start all over again. Okay. It was a great big lesson. So that's what I wanted this speech to be about. In here, there are a lot of incredibly talented people. Some of them, a few of them, I think Aya is amazing, by the way, but there's some amazing people who've already progressed to a position of authority. And they're in this room. And OCP, thank you again to OCP, the university, Africa advisors. Try and ambush them and make them in your network. And that guy from Chad, definitely get his WhatsApp. Networks are important, but more important than those older people who've maybe progressed a little, there are people next to you who will absolutely become leaders in the next 10, 15 years. They're already leaders, we know, blah, blah, blah. But they will become leaders of influence very quickly. And that means you should be your best self this week and make sure as many people as possible like you, which for some of us it's obviously very easy. That was a joke, but you know. Try your best to be charming and get people in your network and keep in touch with them. I was always pretty bad at that, but it's so important. I wanted to close my speech somewhat with this. I listed this morning, I'm not a big one for writing speeches out, maybe I should be, but I listed this morning a group of people in this room who have greater qualities than me in some areas. I'm brilliant at lots of things, of course, but there are a lot of people who I learn a lot from, and I wanted to list them, and in no particular order, and please don't allow me to pigeonhole you into this one skill or quality. However, let me start. I wrote the word intelligence down. Who in this room inspires me for their just raw intelligence? It's up to them how much they're using it, but for intelligence I listed Sean from India. Are you here, Sean? Please say you are. Gustav has to be here, please. Say hello, Gustav. And Solomon from Uganda, who may or may not be here, but you know. So that's a good group that I can learn something from, how they use their intelligence. How about determination? Well, there's too many, but I kept a list of 3 on each of these. Jihad, who's an amazing presenter. You want to get things done, you need determination. I see Jihad's will to make the most of who she is, and it's incredible. She will make it huge. Mohammed, the president and co-founder of World Record. And Sanjay from Nepal, who has always delivered things in his home city for World Merit, but being persistent, even without as much support as he sometimes should get from World Merit. He's been incredible. So well done, Sanjay. Are you here, by the way? Oh, there he is. He's also very handsome, but that's just an opinion. Let me then go to one that maybe people won't enjoy being pigeonholed into this. So know that I think more of you than this, but grace. It's not an attribute I have. Somebody who, when they walk in the room, they hold themselves with an air that you admire immediately and you respect. So under the heading of grace, elegance, let me say, first, Monia. The way you carry yourself is incredible. I met Asif last night. He's got a brilliant sense of himself, and I really enjoy spending time with him, so I'll put you into grace. Is that all right? Is that okay with you? Yeah? Good. Nice one. I bet you nobody's ever called Asif graceful before, but, you know, I could be wrong. And lastly, Rhett. If anybody saw his dancing last night, you would know that he has grace and elegance. So then, please allow me to keep going. I'm just talking about you lot anyway. Humour, it's so important. You need people in your network and your team who make you laugh, who when things are not going particularly well, show you that to laugh and to love are the most important things on the planet. So who is it in this room who makes you laugh? Well, let me tell you some people who've made me laugh from World Merit in general. Bassi, I know he's very organised. Not only is he handsome, not only is he intelligent and organised, but he's really funny and kind and thoughtful. But I put him under humour. I've also got Ovi from Bangladesh. He makes me laugh. He also irritates me every now and again because he's always got ideas, but he makes me laugh all the time, and I really enjoy that. And Fatty, I saw she was in the room before. Yay! She cracks me up. Okay, on to vision. Really important to me. I couldn't be any more excited to be in a room with people who understand the vision of World Merit and are the people who are going to make it work. But there have been others that have come in and they've made this vision theirs as much as it ever was mine. And that is Ron Bone, and Jen up there. Hello, Jen. And Marlou. Where are you, Marlou? It's good to have people with vision, and there are strong visionaries in this room, and make sure you connect. I think you've split into groups that are going to really help this process. Coming to the end of this, but important, resilience. For me, it's the most important attribute of an entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur or a leader. Picking yourself up, which isn't always easy, and some people who know me know that it hasn't necessarily been easy for me many times in my life and even this year. But resilience, and I would randomly, but there's a real reason I've mentioned it, Richard Kemp. Richard is the leader of a party in Liverpool that isn't in power. And sorry, Richard, not yet. And his political career has had more people call him rude words than anybody else I've ever met. I'd also like to mention in resilience Leonidas from Burundi, who, thank goodness. Leonidas has tried to be on World Merit programs so many times and has failed the visa process a number of times, or fundraising process a number of times, but he still does amazing events and projects and work every day, every month in Burundi, and I'm so glad you're here. Moving on, only a couple to go. I'm going to do compassion. Sometimes this week you will have to spend time. You should really work to spend time with these people. They will absolutely listen to the words that you say and will think of how best to help you. And the first of the three that I picked for that, though there could be more, is Emily. Emily, please wave. Bernie Hollywood. And lastly, not least, you have to find Alana. Alana is an incredible woman I met about 5 or 6 years ago, that every time she speaks, it's with a calm wisdom. And she's a beautiful, beautiful person with world experience and knowledge that is not easy to come by. And I'm so glad that she's here. So. And then I come to the bit that I think this is the final one, the final list. I know there's two. Well, I'll do spirit. Clatemas, where are you? Is somebody laugh there? Where is she? If she's not in here, it's because she's being spirited somewhere else. And she is incredible. Where? Okay. Completely love you. You're fantastic. Patrick, Sierra Leone. Yeah, Patrick, where are you? And of course, and you noticed that I thought they were the best table last night, but there's a couple of tables we would argue. Odwa leading his South Africa. Okay, and then last, and why I've left this one to last, is creativity. I've left it to last because it means a lot to me. It's something that I would love to be regarded for. And it's something that I know is filled in people in this room. Ito, our camera person, and most beautiful photography you could ever see, but just creative in lots of different ways, and how he can use imagery to make the world better. Love it. Faisal, where are you, mate? Faisal has worked with me at 3 o'clock in the morning in the past and creating things that look good for presentations, but has ideas coming out of him all the time. And then last, and this is the very last name drop, sorry that I haven't name dropped more, I did want to mention, I'm really pleased that UITM from Malaysia are all here, and it's so grateful for you to come in. And also wanted to mention Shanghai Normal for making such a big effort to come, and everybody, all the delegates from there. Thank you so much. But the last person I wanted to name drop is hopefully I pronounced the name correctly, is Zainab from Morocco. Oh, from Morocco, Zainab. Where are you? You're only small, but stand up. Okay. Last night, I sat next to Zainab at the dinner table, and we were just chatting, and I was messing about, and then she showed me her artwork, which is truly phenomenal. And I mean, truly, and I'm not an art connoisseur, so I don't really know, but it just blew me away. And I wanted to leave that to last because it's an example of the people that you don't know have hidden depths and hidden talent. You have a handful of days to find the depths and talent of people next to you and around you. If you don't do so, and if you don't explore other people, you are stupid, just stupid. And there's no excuse for anyone in here to be stupid, none. And if you fail this week, it's your own fault. I have no sympathy for you, but I will still love you. Thanks for letting me speak. Bye.
I hope that you guys were taking notes, because that was a list of people that you need to be networking with. Now, the next person that I want to introduce is somebody that you definitely need to have on your contact list. He is an entrepreneur himself for many, many decades. He is a graduate of Cornell University, and he mentors and supports other entrepreneurs. Please welcome Jalal.
Hello, crazy people. Good morning. Thank you, Jihad, for this introduction, and it's very difficult to come after those brilliant speakers. Halal, Aya, Chris, it's not easy. I'm supposed to make a speech to inspire you. I know it's going to be difficult because you're probably tired after some partying yesterday, but I will try my best to give you at least some insights. So it's an honor for me to be here today with all of you, brilliant young people gathering to discuss social action. And I'd like, of course, to thank OCP Group, UM6P, and World Merit, Jihad, Mohammed, Abdhamid, and all the team to make this possible. Thank you again very much. So thinking about what to say to inspire you, I decided to share with you the very reasons why I myself decided to make social action part of my engagement in life and among my community and in the world. So if we're all here and if we talk about thinking different and changing things, as Munya said in the beginning, I think it's because overall we're not very happy with the current situation of the world. Different institutions and movements may call that differently, but it's all about change. But change to what? For the better, of course. To less poverty, to more education, to better lives, to more dignity, to more freedom, to more equality, to less racism, etc. All those goals can be found in various frameworks and declarations like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that you probably know. But when goals and objectives can be clear and agreed, there are dozens of ways and strategies to achieve them. It can be politics, it can be business and entrepreneurship, it can be charity, it can be positive dictatorship, and it can be social action. And you have obviously chosen social action. You feel concerned, you want to contribute, so you become engaged, and here you are. But because you are also impatient for success, you strive for the biggest impact possible. Be it among your community, your country, your continent, or the world. Impact is what we all strive for, my friends. You want to impact the world, and you'd be happy to leave something for the next generations, for humanity. impact and legacy. This is what we're all after. So when I realized that small-scale social action could be apparently insignificant impact, like for example changing the law versus working in a local association, I started challenging my assumption, which is, by the way, what you should be doing here. And I started asking questions. So you have to challenge your assumptions to do something, to take action in a way that makes sense for you. Having worked for the World Bank, I started analyzing the impact of such an institution, which was supposed to have some leverage on countries and governments, and started rethinking the whole model. Thanks to such an institution, a powerful and rich country, like the United States, could take the decision to help and subsidize a poorer country, which could help thousands of communities with a simple budget allocation, where some people are working in a neighborhood or village association to solve very basic problems like access to water, but with huge effort. In another different way, I came to realize that a guy in Texas, without a clue about where a country is, can have way more impact on that country than the people who are engaged there in social action by just voting for the next president of the US. And I was like, give me a break, this is ridiculous. So I was frustrated and I wanted to scream to the political world and ask all leaders to take better decisions. But as you know, the world is imperfect, and this is what explains the reason why an organization like World Merit exists. Then I met a person who works at a very high level in Washington, D.C., and she told me her story. She originated from a poor village in an African country, and nothing could predict she would make it to get higher education, and even less, a job somewhere at that level. She then told me that there was a person engaged in social action in her village, and who taught her that everything was possible. She was selected in a merit-based program and was given a chance to show what she was capable of. All I had was hope and hunger for success, she said. Today, she influences decisions that help to build schools and universities in her country. The impact she has on her country's education capabilities is higher than any single government could achieve alone. That was like a huge wake-up call for me. The person who helped her maybe did not know that he or she would impact their country this way. But they continued working and hoping. My dear friends, I can tell you for sure that there is something that I call the invisible hand of social action. You know the invisible hand of Adam Smith in economy? So there is an invisible hand in social action. Humanity is full of great people like you, but we have to be able to see them in the middle of a lot of chaos. And as I just outlined, you may make mistakes when trying to do what appears to be sound thinking, like trying to optimize impact, resulting in you turning your back to social action to try something theoretically more efficient like politics. So whatever actions you take, big or small, the sole fact that it is possible, not sure, just possible, that it makes a difference one day by inspiring a person or a child who may become an original at some point, it is really worth it. You may not be able to change the world yourself, but by taking social action, you may inspire somebody else to do it. You just have to keep faith and spread hope. You have to be crazy enough to believe it. So I'd like to finish this keynote speech by sharing one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs. Quote starts, "Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently." And I'm sure a lot of you recognize themselves in this description. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you cannot do is ignore them, because they do change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you, crazy people, and enjoy this World Marriage.
Thank you, Jalal. So now I'm going to present to you the person who needs no introduction. All of you know him, and he wanted to welcome you before we start our first panel of the day, and then take a break for lunch. So, Mohammed Hmami.
I don't need this for the moment, so we're just gonna hide it for a second. How are you doing? Enjoying the night so far? Okay, give me one big scream so to feel the energy in the room. Come on, go! Thank you. Guys, you gotta stop doing this because you always give me the part to welcome you and at the same time to be in the end, so I always find it hard to say something that was not said before. And at the same time, it's really hard to follow up on such quality, good speakers that we have in this room today. After Aya, after Halal, after Jalal, and everyone else, Chris, and everyone who was on the stage, that's a little bit challenging. But though, before I start, I want to ask you, and you have to respond to me by show of hands. How many people here in this room know me? Okay. How many people know my name, like my complete name? But now, how many people truly know me, like truly? Oh. Okay, okay. I see that the number got reduced from a time to another. It's fine. And now, before I start again, I want to ask you to take a look to the room, the next person to you. Can you take a look and see? Do you know them? Their name, where are they from, the story, who they are? No. So for most of us here, we're kind of, I won't say strangers, but we don't know much about each other. But still, we're coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different organizations, different countries. But we have something in common, something that brought us all here. Because firstly, we care. That's something we care about. And we want to make a difference. What I want to say is that our differences should not be like the reason for us to be divided. But they have to be the reason that unites us. We all are here in Ben Guérir. This is crazy. 40 countries, more than 40 countries here in this room. 400 participants. This is really crazy that to get every one of you here to this campus in UM6P. Can you imagine? Every one of you made it here. So I want you to take a moment and reflect on the journey that brought you here. You all made it. My name is Mohammed Hmami, President co-founder of World Morocco, proudly Moroccan, 24 years old, from the regions of Bani Mellal. Day after day, who are the Bani Mellal folks here? We have some representation from home. That's good. So, for the people here who are here, I want to share something special, something personal about myself. Day after day, I try to find myself. I try to find who I am. I ask myself a question, what do I want to do? What am I doing next? Where do I want to be? And those are some questions that we all share, some questions that every one of you is asking or should be asking themselves. Poverty, child labor, problems with finding who truly I am and my self-identity. This is just a glimpse of some things that I faced as a child. I did all the kinds of jobs that you can imagine. I worked in construction, I worked in agriculture. My parents, my brother, sister, and I shared a room of 5 meters on 3 when I was a kid. That's smaller than this place where I'm standing now. It's a living room, it's a kitchen, it's guest room, bedroom, everything. And from all that to to speaking to you here, to being the president of World Merit Morocco. This is... If this proves anything to me, it proves the concept of an impact of an opportunity. That one opportunity can radically change the course of your life, as it did to mine. One opportunity changed my life. And that opportunity for me, I said it last year, and I will say it again this year. The opportunity is World Merit Morocco. It proves the power of youth and what they can do, first, when they're inspired, and secondly, when they're given the space to act. But mostly, and I don't want to give it on other people as well, as youth we have a part in this as well. Mostly, it's when we take our part and step up and take the lead. What Morocco has given the example of that by bringing each one of you here. We attest the concept of merit. Each one of you here merited your way in here by impacting people in your local communities. We are the movement of merit. You are the movement of merit. So I want you to take a moment and reflect on that. We care about mobilizing youth as an organization by providing them with the means and the tools and the skills of the future so they can be prepared to face all the issues they have. So I want to, at the same time, I want to take a moment to say something to the people who couldn't make it in here, either because they couldn't find a fundraise for their flight or because they couldn't get a visa to come to Morocco. I want to say something to all of you if you're watching us here today, that your impact is heard. Last year, we started our merit journey. This year, we came back with much, much wider vision and an ambitious vision. This conference is brought to you by an amazing collaboration. One of our key values as World Merit and ethic values is collaboration. I still remember the first day when Bessie, my partner in crime, and I presented this concept of World Merit and the concept of the summit to the office of the chairman and CEO of OCP. We were less experienced. We didn't have enough background, but strangely and surprisingly, they trusted us. They believed in us. They saw something else. The same thing you see yourselves in yourself and you see in World Merit. And that thing is that we all care about action. World Merit Morocco is an action-oriented organization. It does not matter how big or small your action, but what matters is you are taking the lead. You are stepping up and you're taking the initiative. Thanks to that meeting and the people we presented to, some of them here are this room, so thank you so much. We are here today. This summit is brought to you by a Moroccan team with international collaboration, by a huge support of one of the amazing partners that we have, our official partner, the OCP group, and our wonderful host, the UM6P, University Polytechnic Mohammed VI. And at the same time, we want to take this model and scale it up. This has to be the example of a collaboration and how it can be, as a model for any organization, private or public, that wants and cares about impact, wants to make an impact and cares about an impact. This message, my message to everyone, every single one in this room is get active, get involved, and most importantly, share your experience with everyone in here, and give gratitude to your fellow delegates. Before I close my speech, I want to thank some key people in this room. Firstly, my team from Jihad, the chair of the summit, Bessie, my partner in crime, Umayma, our HR, and the whole summit team. There is another person in here with us that every time in the course of preparation for the summit, whenever we face a problem, we have a problem. In his holidays, and at night, in the morning, but he still stepped up for us. So can you stand up, please, Talal? Thank you so much. this community of Word Merit is not just a community, is not just an organization, it is a family. And as we say, we aspire to inspire. We strive to thrive, but mostly we act to impact. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And officially, I welcome you to Morocco and to the second edition of the Word Merit Summit in Morocco in the UM6P campus. So welcome everyone. Thank you OCP group. Thank you M6P. Thank you everyone. Thank you ladies and gentlemen. And have a great day. And enjoy the summit. It's an opportunity. Thank you so much.